What is up, Loons fans? Welcome in. It is post Loons. It is April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2023. But no fool in Minnesota United tonight. A 1-0 win in St. Louis, knocking off the the MLS expansion darlings, if you will, St. Louis City. Previously 5-0-0 coming into this one, but they fall 1-0 to Minnesota at home. And it's the third straight road win for Minnesota United. Third win in 3 road matches, I should say, to kick off the 2023 campaign. My name is Jeremy Rushing, and alongside me tonight to break down the win and everything that went along with it is John Marthaler. John, how are we doing?
I'd just like to say hello to everyone but the Ramsey County plow driver that came through after I shoveled my driveway this morning and plowed me in again.
Yep.
As I was trying to get out and go watch Bayern and Dortmund. So you, whoever you were, hey, you know that things are bad when you're uselessly shaking your fist like this in your driveway at a plow driver that's going by. Yeah,
I've been there.
So hello to everybody but that person.
Quick aside before we actually get into the match. So I think there was like a snow like in early January, and this was straight out of a movie, John. I had just finished shoveling my driveway, and I was standing there proudly looking at my work. Yep. And down comes a snowplow. Down comes a snowplow and just covers the whole front and like a foot of snow. Yep. So yeah, been there. But you know what? It's all clear in St. Louis. It's all clear for the Loons after a 1-0 win. We have so many questions and comments to get to before we even get into the match moments or anything like that. So let's dive in. Let's get a few of these questions done before we actually get into our 3 things, John. Dave Stevens says Adrian Heath, earthly favorite. I think he meant early, but he also might be the earthly favorite.
Also the earthly favorite.
Yes.
There are no spiritual or extraterrestrial favorites.
Nope, just only earthly favorites. Ones. Yep. For MLS Manager of the Year, I have been mostly pro Heather since 2017, but I love how he's adapted out of necessity to raise unexpected absence this year. Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it's impressive what Adrian Heath and this team have been able to do, considering the absences, not only the absence of Emmanuel Reynoso, but down 7 guys who have started matches last week, and then you're missing Robin Lod this week as well. Sang Ben Jong, who you thought might be available for this one, was not able to make the trip. So yeah, a lot of adversity once again this week, but Minnesota able to get it done. MJ popping in says, was stressed the first half when we didn't get the goal off the rebound. If we're the scrappy team, I want to have scrappy, consistent goals. I could see newness with St. Louis City and the jitters leading to PKs. I think there's no doubt that this Minnesota United team, the way they're currently structured, is going to be that scrappy team. I don't think they're going to be scoring many Thiago Almeida worldies this season to generate their goals. It's going to be a lot of in around the goal trying to chop one in.
There was a moment, I'm pretty sure it was in the first half, but it might have been in the second half. They had almost a 2-on-none on the sort of the left-hand side. I think it was Longwane and Arriaga, and It was like if there had been nobody on the field, they still wouldn't have gotten a shot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was just
it's strange because they keep winning, but also I was on the verge of tweeting out like 6 different times, if you're going to play for one chance, you have to take that chance when it comes, which is what it felt like. And then, in the second half, they sort of started getting more and more chances, and it felt a little bit less like that. But through about the first maybe 50, 60 minutes, it was a little bit like, well, you got the one chance, and Arriaga managed to hit the only thing he could have hit with his shot, and it seemed like it was going to be one of those disasters, but they really grew into the game and got the win.
Yeah, it seemed out at some point, I think it was probably after the Garcia chance in the second half, where you kind of thought, it might not be their night. They got to hold a clean sheet here if they want to get anything out of this. But they end up getting it done. They end up getting the win, and credit to this team being that scrappy bunch that they've shown themselves to be so far this season.
I still think it's really funny that Minnesota just beat an expansion team that was universally picked to finish 14th in the Western Conference. I don't think there was anyone that picked them any higher than last place. Minnesota goes on the road, gets this win, but given what's happened over the last 5 years, everyone's like, wow, what a big win over one of MLS's
best teams.
Yeah, one of MLS's marquee franchises, one of the long-term big teams in MLS. And it feels like that. It felt like, wow, they
5-0-0. I mean, when's the last time a team in general started 5-0-0, let alone an expansion team, obviously.
Pretty much never. I'm sure it was like the Tampa Bay Mutiny or something like that. It just going back a ways, but it's amazing. But it felt like that, like Minnesota, the team that's been in the league for more than 6 weeks, the scrappy underdog tonight. Going down to St. Louis and pulling one out against their collection of stars that nobody knew anything about until 5 weeks ago.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. The hindsight is interesting, and context is always interesting when it comes to these situations. But yeah, I mean, St. Louis has shown themselves to be pretty good coming into this match, but you also got to think this is an expansion team. They're probably not going to win the Supporter Shield or finish first place in the West. There's going to be some correction that happens over the long-term course of the season. But
I did like Joao Klaus. He had 2 or 3 pretty good chances, not amazing chances, not an empty net in front of him, but pretty good chances. And every time he missed the net, and he reacted like it was the most surprising thing that had ever happened to him, that he missed the net. Like, he expects this. He's just gotten used to it. Every time he touches the ball, he scores.
Yep.
And this week, all of a sudden, the magic deserted him a little bit, and all his reactions were just like, I turned off missing the net. I turned that off in the settings before we started this. What happened here?
In the spirit of MLB opening weekend, I'm going to make a baseball reference here. So it's like that hitter that's on like a 15-game hit streak, and all of a sudden he strikes out and he just looks at his bat like, I didn't realize that was possible. How could you let me down
like this?
I didn't realize that was possible. I forgot about this.
Right.
I forgot about missing the goal. That happens though. And credit to Minnesota's defense. I mean, they really shut Klaus down specifically tonight. He's obviously been the main goal contributor for this team. For over the first 5 games, I think he had 5 goals and was second only to Jordan Morris in the Golden Boot race coming into this. So,
their method of shutting him down was not passing the ball directly to him with nobody in front of the goal. You got to shut him down. You take away what he's best at, and what he's best at is getting the ball kicked right to him. So, there you go.
I will say we got sort of a firsthand look, and we'll get to some of these other questions, but let's go ahead and jump into our 3 things, because this is kind of where I want to start. We got a firsthand look at what this St. Louis City press really looks like, and holy cow, it's relentless. It's really like full court, high pressure situation that you don't see too much. I mean, Minnesota presses in their own way, and there are other teams that press, but in my time watching the Loons over the last 3-4 years, I'm hard pressed to find a game where they have faced a relentless press like this. And so it's with that context in there, it's like, okay, maybe I can see where a back pass goes awry or something like that. But man, I mean, the first 40, 45, I mean, I guess the basically majority of the first half, we saw St. Louis really wreaking a lot of havoc in Minnesota's defensive half.
Does St. Louis play the Red Bulls this year? Because that is a question. That would be appointment viewing. Watching those
chaos.
It would honestly, it would be about 20 minutes of soccer followed by like a 1970s NHL line brawl where there's just guys scrapping all over the field. It's just 11-on-11 fist fights for the rest of the game. That's new. That's the Red Bulls and St. Louis for sure.
I mean, it would at some level be like my 6-year-old's youth soccer games, where there's just a crowd of people around the ball, and wherever the ball goes, that crowd of people just moves, right?
Everybody's high pressing the ball.
You can't see the ball, but you just know where it is based off the crowd of people that's following it.
Just a rolling rugby ball, and then every so often the ball squirts out the side, and 6 people go down, and
yeah. But that is my first thing is the press, and I thought that they adjusted well to it in the second half, and they actually found a way to sort of turn that into opportunities for Minnesota by handling the press and being able to break those lines. Because if you're able to break that press, I mean, it's so relentless, it's so high. If you're able to break it, we saw it a couple times in the first half too, you got kind of a clear shot. You're going to have kind of to use a hockey term, an odd man rush, if you will, towards goal. So credit to Adrian Heath, credit to whoever was involved in sort of making those adjustments. They were able to break that press a little bit more consistently in the second half. John, hit me with your first thing.
Yeah, my first thing, I sort of typed about 4 different things, but really what I was thinking about was a little bit what you were saying in terms of trying to break that press and counterattacking, and just noting how poorly the front four, I'm going to call them the front four. It was Garcia and Amaria and Bongi and Fragapane, but it really felt like they set themselves up to counterattack in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But in the first half, especially, the guys who are supposed to be doing that counterattacking, that front four, it felt like you put them 4-on-4 and there's no chance in the world they would ever even generate a shot. It was just, It was pretty terrible. And so it was disheartening because clearly the game plan going into St. Louis, especially if they're going to press high, is all right, we're going to absorb the pressure. Like you say, Minnesota's not going to press a lot. They sort of opportunistically press a little bit if the other team's getting stretched around the back, or their center backs are getting separated way apart. You'll see Garcia and Amaria advance a little bit and try to force somebody to make a truly bad error. But for the most part, they're going to sit back about on their halfway line, and they're the midfield and the wingers. It's sort of like a hexagon. You got 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and then the wide guys are sort of in the middle. And that's just sort of the way they're going to set up defensively. And the idea, which is a good one, when you got St. Louis pouring guys forward to press, is all right, if we can get the ball to these guys who can counterattack, then we're going to try to create some chances going forward. But Amaria lost the ball 4 billion times in the second half too. He really was struggling to the point that he just looked like he had lost all of his confidence. Garcia wasn't much better on the counterattack. It seemed like the whole team was just struggling to try to have something coherent going forward. And not to talk too much about Emmanuel Reynoso, but it feels like a lot of the time when they would try to do that counterattack in the past, especially in a road game, especially when they set up like this, the idea was get the ball to Reynoso and then everyone can just run and Reynoso will have the ball. Now they don't have that guy who can just have the ball. Fragapane, for all he tries, is not very good at carrying the ball forward. Amaria, the ball's just pinging off his shins. Garcia is a good runner, but not very good at carrying the ball forward either, and neither is Bongi. And so they really look kind of lost when they're in that classic 4-on-4, 3-on-3, 2-on-2 kind of counterattacking situation.
Yeah, and that's what this team is missing and lacking right now. For as much as I think they're a much more collective and cohesive unit without Reynoso, they are missing that. It's when they get to that point where it's like, okay, now it's time to make the pass that's going to spring the goal. It's time to make the pass to the right place at the right time with the right weight that's going to set up that opportunity. That is what this team is missing. They've been able to kind of skirt around it with set pieces and crosses and just kind of being scrappy, getting rebound opportunities in front of goal. But if they're going to kind of add that next dimension and really sort of say, hey, we're a team that's really we're fully moving forward without Reynoso, and we're able to sort of kind of pick up the slack fully, if you will, they got to find that ability collectively to make that right pass at the right time in the final third. Because that's something Ray, one of the best chance creators in the entire league. That's something he brought. But the flip side of that is like maybe they were very over-reliant on Ray when he was in the lineup. So you've got to find that balance. And I think, honestly, best case scenario, Ray comes back and you still have a more collective identity, but he's still setting the table without just giving him the ball and saying, okay, you do your thing. We're just all going to kind of get out of the way and let you do your thing. Finding that collective identity with that guy who can still set the table the way Ray can. That's what you got to do if you're going to be that best Minnesota United team.
Yeah, and it's hard to strike that balance, especially when you got a guy like Reynoso who's immensely talented, but no one would ever accuse him of being a particularly hard worker on defense or in the pressing game. And it's, on the one hand, you need that guy who can have the ball and do something with the ball. But on the other hand, you've got a game like this where everybody's running themselves into the ground. Longwane had, they said, a 22-hour travel day or a 20-hour travel day or something.
After playing 97 minutes for South Africa over the weekend, right?
Got back at midnight on Thursday, and he absolutely ran himself into the ground.
Oh, my God.
The entire game. He was the only one of those front guys that played the entire 90 minutes. He just must be dead. So you've got that. You've got that spirit in the team right now.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't quite know how you could take Reynoso, no matter how good he is with the ball. I don't quite know how you could take Reynoso, who will usually make one effort at pressing and then just start walking back to his position. I don't know how you can get those things together. I'm not saying they're better off without Reynoso, because as we just talked about, and as you can clearly say, they're missing. They're so clearly missing what Reynoso brings. It's just hard to not look at the, as Heath himself said, that enthusiasm and the effort and the spirit that comes with what they're doing right now, and not also want that to stay.
Yeah, and also, how much does that collective defending help keep clean sheets, right? 3 goals through 5 matches. How much is that sort of all 11 guys being invested in the defensive end of the ball as well? How much is that factoring into that part of it too?
Right.
You also got to take that in consideration. My second thing is, man, this was like the most Big Ten basketball soccer match I've ever seen in my life. Referee I've never seen a ref swallow their whistle as much as in this match.
I've been wondering what Ed Hightower has been up to, and here he was. He's refereeing an MLS match.
Yeah, there was one maybe cheap card given to Arriaga there at the end, but I think for a majority of the match, I was very shocked to see how much was let go in this one. But honestly, it was pretty consistent both ways, so I was okay with it. And it wasn't getting chippy. It wasn't getting to a point where, the ref was losing control of the match in any way, shape, or form. It was just a really sort of scrappy, physical match, which I don't mind seeing, but it did surprise me how much was let go.
There were a lot of those moments, and it feels like it's gone out of the game a little bit as they try to protect player safety, rightly so. But there were a lot of moments that harken back about 20 years where the ref would point to the ball, all right, he touched the ball. I know that both of your legs are broken, but he touched the ball, so it's a clean tackle. That's just, you don't see a lot of that anymore. Now it's, whatever, if you foul the guy, no matter whether you got the ball or not, it's a foul or a card. But that was it was a different vibe for sure. And I'm glad you brought up Big Ten basketball. That's the perfect comparison.
It is. I'm sure Andy Grader, who covers the Gophers, also covers the Gophers for the Pioneer Press, enjoyed and appreciated that one.
Yes.
John, second thing.
My second thing was the fullback, and it's sort of a question for you. How much do you miss a guy like Roman Metenier right now that actually had the ability to cross the ball in? That always has been, especially when the Loons were setting up, we're sort of in that 4-2-3-1 kind of look. But even tonight, as they're going for more of a 4-4-2, they still are really trying to get those fullbacks forward. Taylor overlapping and Lawrence overlapping is a big part of how they're going to generate stuff, especially in the second half as they got away from the counterattack and were actually holding on to the ball into the game. And Lawrence and Taylor were terrible tonight. Lawrence had one cross that I don't think landed I think it actually went out on the far side on the fly.
Yep.
And that's hard to do. And again, it goes back to a little bit of what we were talking about, which is Minnesota's winning. They've won every road game. They're getting results at home. They're pulling out the results, but that's got to be better if they are going to continue to do this and not just ride their luck.
Yeah, and that was a bit surprising to me how poor Taylor and Lawrence both were crossing the ball, because we saw, when Minnesota was heading at stride last season, those two were pretty locked in that regard. They were even connecting with each other on goals at times last season. So, I mean, and if this is going to be the system, and if this is going to be the way the team plays, they have to be able to get that quality service in from their fullbacks in those situations if they are going to sustain this level of success through the season. And you're not going to have Amanda Reynoso for a large part of that. Then you have to get better. I'll give DJ Taylor the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he didn't even really train a lot in the preseason. He didn't play a lot in the preseason. This is only his second appearance for the team. So maybe give him the benefit of the doubt there. But yeah, I'm really surprised to see Kamar, especially on the left, not be
another guy coming better. Back from international duty, but still.
Yeah. Still, you kind of expect a little bit better, and maybe hopefully we'll see a little bit better from those two on the outside, or maybe that is enough for Adrian Heath to say, okay, Zarek Valentine's my guy on the right. We'll have to see what the team sheet looks like next Saturday in Chicago for that. But my final thing, it's a little petty, but I want to bring it up.
Well, I mean, this is the time for petty. This is the petty zone. 7
minutes of stoppage time. Where? I don't understand. The ref didn't blow the whistle the entire game. How do you get 7 minutes of stoppage with one goal and no whistles blown? I don't understand.
It was just the same. It was the Rosendo Mendoza theory. Like, you know what? I'm having fun, guys. Let's keep this going. Let's keep it rolling.
At least the whistle blew at 97:30. That's all I'm going to say. At least the whistle blew at 97:30. So at least we got that. We're moving in the right direction.
I was just waiting for it to somehow roll on to like 99 something and St. Louis pull one out. Just watch the absolutely apoplectic reaction from Adrian Heath and company. It was almost, you don't want to see that happen exactly, but you almost want to see it happen, like
just for the reaction.
Just want to see what the reaction would be.
Oh man, it would have made the post match press conference for us, a little bit more exciting too.
Yep.
From that perspective. But anyways, John, hit me with your third and final thing.
All right, my third and final thing is a question for you. What is a toasted ravioli? Nobody would stop talking about toasted raviolis during this game.
So it's a St. Louis thing.
Okay.
I've never actually had one, as much as because I'm me and my dad used to go to Cardinals games all the time when I was a kid. We're both diehard Cardinals fans. So we've been to St. Louis quite a bit. I've actually never had a toasted ravioli. So I can't exactly tell you how it's made. It's not fried though. Don't call it fried ravioli.
I think it's a deep fried ravioli, isn't it?
I mean, you don't call it fried ravioli. Actually, I guess I don't know if it's actually fried or not, but I don't think you don't call it fried ravioli. We'll have to do a little bit more investigating on this. I was not prepared for this question, so I apologize. Even though it was in the notes, that's where we are.
My third thing was actually Will Trapp. I thought had a really good game. This was the first time in a couple of years where it really felt like Will Trapp was that kind of destroyer, defensive midfielder coming out making plays kind of thing. He didn't get a yellow card. It just felt like this was one of his really good games for Minnesota.
Another area of the pitch that is exponentially more important.
Yes.
Now that you don't have that attacking playmaker, to have that defensive midfield that you can count on to sort of snuff out those attacks or sort of be that connectivity between the defense and the attack. I thought Trapp and Arriaga. I thought Arriaga was good once again tonight. I thought Trapp was really good. I agree with you. I mean, that has been a really, I don't want to say like pleasantly surprising, because we both know Trapp and Arriaga's potential, but the way Arriaga sort of sputtered down the stretch last season with his injury and how inconsistent Trapp was, and just inconsistent in keeping himself on the field, as we have talked about so many times on this podcast, specifically, it's really good to see those two sort of come back together, Trapp and Arriaga, and have some really good quality. And again, that just, bodes optimism for the team's overall success moving forward when they're able to put it together at such an important position.
Yeah. Arriaga's taken over as the yellow card scapegoat for the team this year. I think he's got 3 and 4 games now.
He does, but he waits till the second half. Okay, he doesn't get in the first 20 minutes. So
that's what everybody says about Kervin Arriaga. He's responsible with the challenge.
Exactly.
He's on top of it.
He gets his cards at the end, where it really is not that. It's not that.
There's 27 yellow cards the year. They're all at the 70th minute or later.
Yeah,
they're judicious.
Exactly. All right, let's get into some more of these questions here before we get to a word from our sponsor. K-City says, if Amarillo doesn't score or even take that PK, do you rate him higher than a 3 out of 10? Probably not.
Even though he scored and won a penalty, I think you still rate him about
Yeah, that it's interesting, because Heath over the last couple matches has really praised he and Garcia's effort, their activity, the amount of ground they're covering, kind of how much they're running, how much they're back pressing, just involved in kind of the overall part of the match. I understand that importance of it, but at the end of the day, when you get a ball perfectly served to you in the box and with nothing but you and the goal between you, and you're just unable to corral that pass, that happened multiple times with Amarillo tonight. And it's just it's one of those things where we just keep wanting to see more. And we keep waiting and wanting. And it's just, man, it just doesn't seem to be coming together.
If you're a striker, having your coach talk about how much you ran has got to be like the biggest insult of all time. It's like the most backhanded compliment. Well, he didn't score and he embarrassed himself and his family 14 times. I'm not saying he said this, but he ran hard. He ran a lot, and he rarely fell down. So if that's the nicest thing you can say, things aren't going very well. I feel it just looks like the joy has gone out of Amaria's game. And I'm not just saying that, I'm partially saying that, but not just saying that because he's got like the sad Danny Rojas look going now. Like he's got an emo kind of thing. He used to have the hair like the fade
spiked up. Yeah. It was even bleached it at one time.
Look happy. Yeah. Now it's just sort of, started down, and he looks sadder. He looks sadder this year.
Do you think with a full strength squad that it's led up top with Garcia in a 4-4-2 moving forward?
It feels like eventually they're going to stop playing any strikers, and they're just going to start going for all midfielders. Oops, all midfielders.
5-5-0.
Yep.
Oh,
all right, Loons a midfielder, and who's left up? Nobody's left up.
Somebody get forward.
Or it might finally be Hassani Dotson's time to shine. It's like the one place he hasn't played. Hassani
Why
Dotson,
not?
Number 9.
Worth the shot. Worth the shot. Oh, that's good. Mohawk boy. Love this. I think this is his first time chiming into Post Loons. Thank you, Mohawk boy. Hard to rate the best players and moments, such quality plays. Look, this was an entertaining game. It was end to end. It was, there were chances both ways. A lot of those chances weren't finished or even anywhere close to goal, but there were chances both ways. I thought all in all, especially on the defensive end, Minnesota had another fantastic game. I thought this actually leads into Colin Solberg's point as Tapias the MVP for Minnesota United this season. If he's not, he's damn close. I thought he was really good again tonight. And then his ability to also get involved in corners and set pieces in the attack is also just adds another dimension to his game that we haven't really seen from defenders from Minnesota United before as well. So yeah, I mean, look, he's been really good. He is shown to be a immense addition to this team at a position where they really needed an injection of young talent. He came in, he sort of fit the billing from an on paper perspective, but we're seeing it play out on the pitch as well. And he's been a very, very, pleasant surprise, I guess, in his addition to this team.
Yeah. I mean, they've got Sangbin Jong now, and he could probably score 15 goals and Tapias would still be the bigger signing this offseason.
Yeah.
Just because of what you said. He fills, even with all of their struggles in attack, even with everything we talked about before, Tapias fills a bigger need for the Loons than anybody who's coming into the attack right now.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hype Brown just says we have a team. Yeah. It's a cohesive unit. It's a collective group. That's doing really well. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. Any Big Blue, despite the struggles going forward you've discussed, I feel like we saw growth by Bongi in this game. He didn't put his head down to charge into the defense. He was looking to pass a lot more. I think we've seen an evolution from his game overall. I think it's hard to judge him from a quality perspective tonight, just because, everything that's factored into his week. But
I'll tell you, the best part of his game tonight might have been getting knocked down, not getting a foul, and somehow winning the ball back from like a push-up position.
Yeah.
Like just getting himself back to his feet long enough to reach back, get the ball back, and then start an attack again. I don't think I've ever seen somebody bounce back up and win the ball back like that twice in a game.
And he's done that multiple. He did that in the playoff game against Dallas last year, where he got taken down, still had the ball, and then passed it to Ray for the goal. Yeah, he is.
It's like he wants to win the ball, but also let's just see about the penalty. This guy bumped into me. I'm gonna fall down. All right, I don't hear a whistle. Let's just make it go from here. Quick push up.
Boom. Yeah, I love what I've seen from Bongi so far. I think he's been really good. I'm interested to see how kind of he and Sangbin sort of fit. Who starts? How that looks with Sangbin's injection into the roster, presumably next Saturday in Chicago. But before we get to more Loons talk, let's talk about our friends at Golasso Kits, the newest sponsor of Sota Soccer and the Post Loons podcast. They bring unique vintage jerseys to your home. And if you want to know what I mean by unique vintage jerseys, just head to GolassoKits.com, GOLACO Kits.com. When I say unique and vintage, I mean it. Like there are like 2014, 2015 Minnesota United jerseys on GlassoKids.com. That's what I mean by vintage. But it's not just Minnesota United. It's not just MLS. They have Premier League teams. I saw just on the other day, I was kind of browsing. I saw like a 1996 Arsenal kit on their website. Like they have a lot of good stuff. If whoever your favorite club is, whether it's MLS, whether it's Serie A, whether it's Premier League, whether it's whoever, go check them out and just do a little search. It's really fun to just go and kind of play around on the Golasso Kits website and see what all they have in stock and what all they have to give you. Because there's a lot there. Their selection is pretty incredible.
If your favorite club is Jacksonville Armada, they might have something.
They might. Who knows? Go check it out. It's worth the search. GolassoKits.com. And if you use code Loons, sorry, you don't get 20% off. I have to update the banner. It's not 20% off. It's 15 off. It's 15% off. So it's not that. It's not
how
much
disappointing.
Less. 15% off when you use code Loons at GolassoKits.com. Big thanks to Golasso Kits for helping us out on the Post Loons post game show and sponsoring what we're doing and supporting what we're doing at Sota Soccer. Let's jump into a few more of these questions and comments once I hit the right button. Let's see. Eric Grady says, agree on Trapp. I was kind of worried when we kept him, but he's been solid. You have to wonder if the option on his contract in the offseason, if that wasn't automatically triggered, if he would be back on this team this year. That's true. With how deep that defensive midfield position is. Very interesting to think about that possibility with him not on the roster. So let's talk about let's jump into some of these match moments here. There we go. I found it. So we get I think one of the things that concerned me in the first half. So we get a Fragapane yellow in the 19th minute. And then about 20 minutes later, he makes kind of a reckless challenge again. Now it ends up being okay because he does end up getting the ball. And as we mentioned, John, in the year of our Lord, 2023, if you touch the ball, you're good. You're all clear. But man, it's almost like he forgot he was on a yellow for a second. Right. That could have been a lot worse. And with him off down to 10 men, that complexion of the game just totally changes.
That felt like the moment where the ref decided, all right, I'm not going to send this guy off. And as a result, I'm going to let everything go for the rest of the night. If I didn't send him, if I'm not going to give him a card for this, then nothing really counts as a card. So we're just going to keep going. Oh yeah, we'll get one for Arriaga. That's an automatic one. But
yeah, and it's interesting because without Ray, he is now like possibly the most important player in this Minnesota United attack. So I feel like he needs kind of like he doesn't realize it, but he also kind of he needs to realize like how much more valuable he now is to this Minnesota attack, with him being the corner kick taker, with him being, one of the best, guys just delivering service into the box in general. He needs to keep himself on the field. And I think it's a sort of maybe an adjustment for him, kind of having a more prominent role, being more important to this team. But yeah, that could have been a lot worse than it was. 38th minute, we get the Hlongwane and Arriaga 2-on-0. Amaria sends a ball that looks like it's going to Bongi, but Bongi just lets it go to Arriaga, which that was a head scratcher to me.
It was a big surprise to everyone, not least Arriaga.
But and if Bongi takes that, it's probably a goal. But anyways, he does not, and it gets blocked, and we all go into the first half pretty disappointed. 55th minute, talk about disappointed not to score a goal here. I still don't know how this didn't end up in the back of the net. Garcia ends up getting sprung and getting around the keeper.
Robin Berkey comes out. Garcia rounds him, and he sends one in. I mean, he is at kind of a narrow angle, but if you're a professional soccer player, I feel like you have to finish this. Right.
And it hits the post. And then Amaria's follow. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely cannoning back off the post. Hits a St. Louis defender directly in the face. Who clearly didn't see it. It could have gone anywhere. It almost was one of those where it just goes off the guy's face and into the net. The ball bounces straight up in the air, comes down to Luis Amaria, who's got some time to do something. And I think he missed the net by 10 yards.
Yeah.
It wasn't deflected. There was nobody putting pressure on him. It was just, ugh.
Yeah, not good. 78th, Amaria wins the penalty and scores. I mean, this comes after I want to get your thoughts on this. This comes after 2 instances in which Bongi was taken down in the box. I think in the first half, there was like a 2-handed shove to the back. He was taken down, and then he was sort of pulled down by the jersey in the second half. I guess both of those could go either way, but I feel like part of what, I mean, the Amaria one was pretty ridiculous. To be honest,
we definitely need to talk about Kyle Hebert. It was one of the most amazing tackles I've ever seen in my whole soccer watching life. Because Kyle Hebert, the St. Louis City defender, you need to go find the highlight of this if you have not seen it, because Amaria is trying to get into the box. There's 2 defenders there, one of whom is Hebert. The other defender, I can't remember who the other defender was, has taken the ball away from Amaria, has ended this attack, and then here comes Hebert, just full Leroy Jenkins mode.
The ball's like 10 yards away.
The ball is 10 yards away. He comes flying through, takes out Amaria. It's definitely a yellow card. Even if the ball was there, it was a penalty or a yellow card. The ball's nowhere near Amaria. He takes out Amaria. He even fouls his teammate. So it's like the first time you ever played FIFA in your life and you just learned what the slide tackle button is, and you hit it at the wrong time, and it's like, oh, come on. I clearly didn't mean to slide tackle and possibly injure my teammate.
Yep.
It was absolutely one of the most, I can't even find the word to describe. What was that? What was he thinking? What was he doing?
I have no idea.
It was a flying lunge for no reason. It was nowhere near the ball.
It wasn't. No, the ball was long gone at that point.
Yeah.
It was just a slide tackle. I mean, a good slide, if you want to give him that. That's how he was able to take out Amaria and his teammate. He covered a lot of ground, so I credit to him on the slide. But yeah, no, not very well timed.
It was so late that he literally was arguing with the referee to be like, "Listen, the ball's all the way over there. Clear. It can't count if I was so late that the ball's all the way gone."
There was a similar instance, not nearly as egregious in the first half, but Jared Stroud takes out Franco Fragapane, just completely takes him out, and then puts his arms up when he's fouled. Like, oh, what did I do? It's like, dude, you completely took him out. What are you talking about? So. Yeah, there was a couple of those moments in this one for sure. There was a moment, we don't have it in the notes here, but Eric Grady did bring it up. Says, other things to note, Boxall kicked a guy in the face.
Right in the face.
Right in the face.
In the penalty area.
Did he kick Klaus, or did Klaus headbutt Boxall's knee?
I mean, did I punch Jeremy in the face, or did his face get in the way of my fist? I'm just swinging fists. It's like The Simpsons, Lisa, I'm going to be swinging my arms, and if your face gets in the way.
It was funny because they had a close-up on them talking after that, back and forth, and I would love to have heard what that conversation was, Ben, because Michael Boxall doesn't take any crap on the field.
I think that was one of those conversations. I feel like I've heard a lot of swear words in my life, but I'm pretty sure that I would have been like, oh, I got to earmuffs this one, guys. I can't hear people talking like this anymore.
Oh man. So then we get into stoppage time. 7 minutes, a minimum. Okay, let me I guess I have to like really like amplify this point. A minimum of 7 minutes of stoppage time. And
I'll give Dane St. Clair credit. At least 3 of them were waiting for him, like studying goal kicks.
Yes,
he did. He didn't get a card for that. I mean, nothing was a card at that point.
He did not. Didn't see him really get warned or whistled or anything.
The third one, it looked like he was trying to get a card. Like, he was like, a 3-year-old who's just trying to get a timeout.
Yep, exactly. 90+1 Arriaga. I mean, he's going to bury a free kick at some point this season. Really,
in his career.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, he's so close. Like he has not missed the goal by more than like 4 inches on a free kick, like so far. I mean, he nails the crossbar against Dallas. He's just kind of a whisker off on this one. And then 90+6 could have been the equalizer for St. Louis. Adeniran gets a pass in from Klaus in the box. He turns, fires a point blank effort, but it curls wide. St. Louis just really couldn't find the goal in this one.
That was the strangest thing. Not to keep using FIFA metaphors, but it did for a second look like both Boxall and St. Clair, like their controller disconnected. St. Clair was like He was
especially
at the
Boxall.
post.
Yeah,
Boxall was on the wrong side of the guy. Like both of them were just not standing where they should have been standing, which is not usually what you say about either one of them.
no.
And it was very, very strange.
Yeah, he had a lot of time. He receives the pass, and it's sort of like he sort of tries to turn, but he ends up kicking the ball like a few yards. But nobody else is in the vicinity, so he's able to sort of meet it and take that shot. But fortunately, it curls wide, and that's it. So 3 wins and 3 road matches so far for the Loons. They have 11 of a total 15 points to start the season. They are undefeated through 5 matches. The competition has been a little hit or miss. They've had a game where there's been 6 inches of snow on the ground. They had a game where they're missing 7 starters and there was a billion minutes of stoppage time. So there's been a lot of different factors that, we don't really know too much either way. But I mean, how are we feeling through 5 matches, John?
That is the funny thing. They're undefeated through 5 matches. They've won 3 road games, which I think it was 2 years ago. They won 3 road games the whole season.
Yep.
And it does feel like they know absolutely nothing about this team still. Who is this team? Who's their best 11? The guys who they put out there that win every game. You're like, I don't think they got it. It's very strange. This was probably their best game of the bunch. Maybe Dallas on the opening day, but the way they came back in the second half and really got themselves back into the game on the offensive end, I think that was probably their most impressive half of the season.
Yeah.
But even that, we just went through all of the plays of they needed a guy losing control of himself and a penalty to get a goal. And they're not creating much, but they're giving up nothing. And it feels like it's going to be a couple of weeks before they start seeing. They're going to see Seattle in a couple of weeks. They're going to see LAFC coming up here at some point. And St. Louis being 5-0, everybody loves this story. Great story, but I really don't think you can look at this and go, well, they've beaten one of the best teams in MLS this week. It feels a little bit like they're still muddling through a little bit. And you talk about snow, it's never going to stop snowing here in Minnesota either. So
gosh. Can you imagine if there was a home match today?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Would they have played?
Probably not.
Garrett Stuber would have been here shoveling the field himself. He would have been so mad about it.
You would have, that's for sure.
No, an Austrian man just with a shoveling the whole field himself.
That is a good point, though. I mean, it's kind of 2019-esque in a way where it's like we're just going to defend and we're just going to kind of hope and pray that we get a goal somehow, some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter.
Vito Manoni is going to make 400,000 saves every game.
Yeah, we're just gonna, we're gonna do our best to keep a clean sheet. We're gonna focus on keeping a clean sheet and just hope and pray we get a goal. And it's worked so far. How sustainable is that for the season? How sustainable is that when you play a guy like Jordan Morris, when you play a team like Seattle who's putting up cricket numbers every single week against top level competition? That's a question that can only be answered when you face those teams and have those matchups. But I also don't think we've seen the best version of Minnesota United so far. We haven't seen a version where Robin Lod is in his, has found that spot that he always seems to find every single year, but it's always a different spot every single year. We haven't seen what Sang Bin Jong can bring to this team quite yet, what type of impact he can have right off the bat. So I think that's the encouraging thing is that, they're undefeated through 5 matches. They've, won 3 of them now, all on the road. And yet I don't know if we've really still seen the best version of this team.
Right. It's like, it feels in a lot of ways, just because of the situations they've been in, it's like extended spring training right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
And well, they've got 11 points from 5 games. Amazing result. But it does feel like a little bit just like house money. They were talking on the broadcast. I forget who the broadcasters were tonight, but they were sort of sitting around and thinking and saying, St. Louis City's got 15 points already. And given that 9 teams make the playoffs this year, it really feels like, what are you going to need? 38 points, 37 points or something to make the playoffs? They're like, St. Louis feels like they're about halfway home to the playoff berth already. Yep. And I think if you had told Minnesota United fans that Robin Lod is not going to play a couple of these games, that Emmanuel Reynoso is going to be nowhere to be found, and you'd offer them 11 points from the first 5 games of the season, any fan would have, as Adrian Heath would probably say, would have snapped your hand off to make that deal. Just it's been, I was going to say it's been impressive, but I don't know how impressive it's been. It's impressive that they've gotten the result. It's impressive that they have 11 points after 5 games. Obviously, that's wonderful.
Defensively impressive. I would argue defensively impressive.
I will agree with that. Yes, defensively impressive. But overall, I don't think anyone's looking at Minnesota and be like, well, look out for Minnesota. This is one of the best teams in the league. Now, if you can get those guys back, if you can integrate new signings, if you can get all of this stuff together, the foundation is there. Because of that defensive foundation, you've got that foundation of being an impressive team. But I don't think they're there yet.
And you also have to factor in, if by August we'll have either a DP slot or a DP back, I would have to imagine. So you have all, with that by the summer window, I would have to imagine that we either have a DP spot or a DP back. And so that's something to consider as well when you talk about, improving this team, improving this roster, improving their chances moving forward. All right. Well, that'll do it. Speaking of playoffs, John, one final note. So I got April Fools today.
Oh no!
Somebody tweeted that Don Garber was changing the MLS playoff format again, and I completely fell for it.
What was he supposedly changing it to?
It was like changing it to like a round robin in the first round. Like, I don't know. It was like completely crazy. And I got halfway through the article and was still believing it.
That's like, all right.
Is that more on me or is that more on the league for, making it believable that this would happen?
All right. Here's our new playoff format. Everybody gets messy for 1 game, and we're going to play a full round robin. And you're like, all right, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. I'm going to need to see a new version of allocation money in here before I believe this is true. But once I see that, we've got MAM, messy allocation money. All right. All right. I'm believing this. This could work.
Man. I haven't asked Heath yet how he would feel about paying for Lionel Messi and potentially playing against him. But I'm excited to ask that question when the time is right.
I hope that no matter what happens, I'm not standing next to you when you do.
Sounds good. All right. John Marthaler, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me here in Post Loons. I think you should start calling it the Loons event line, just like Loons the Vikings event line.
There you go.
You need to get people. You need to get people calling in, especially after they lose. Just angry people calling into the Loons event line.
That's usually good for business is when they lose or draw in heartbreaking fashion. So but tonight's pretty good too. Impressive wins are good too.
I do want to send a shout out. I'm not going to name any names, but I saw a few people on social media tonight who were complaining about how MLS was favoring St. Louis City, an expansion team that came into the league 5 years ago. That's good. I love it. I love that. You can find me at johnmarthaler.com. I'm on Twitter, jmarthaler. Just ask Jeremy. Jeremy knows where to find me.
I'll direct you to John.
Got my phone number. He can just give it to you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tweet out John's phone number after this.
Yeah, so you guys can get to my house whenever you guys can just come over. If you bring a shovel over, you can shovel.
Bring a shovel. Yes.
Bring a shovel. Shovel and I'll while you shovel, I'll talk Loons at you just like this. I'm just gonna sit there and look directly at you, and you won't be able to stop me.
You could talk about Mickey Tapias' presence in the middle of the Loons back line while shoveling John's driveway. It's great.
Shoveling my driveway.
Win-win.
What a terrible state. What a terrible state we live in.
All right, John Marthaler. Appreciate the time, man, as always. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you could, before you leave, give us a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not, and give us a follow on Twitter.
And this will be a podcast too, right?
It will. It'll be available in podcast form. So, I mean, people
So if you're listening to this in a podcast, you can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm waving my hands around like a crazy person. You can't see it. You can't see it, but whatever. Go and rate and what do people do with rate and review? You got to rate and review. You gotta subscribe. Smash that like button. Wait, is that what people say? There is a like button on the YouTube. There's not like buttons on the podcast. So go to YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Podcast, you can hit all the like buttons you want. Won't help us. Doesn't do anything for any of us. Eric Grady has a question to bring us home. He wants to know if you do stand up on the side. Boy, that would be an utter. I can't imagine anything more disastrous than me trying to do than me trying to do stand up. So what's the deal?
Hey,
Free center, free at the back.
I may make that happen. Well, let's see if we can make that happen. All right, John, appreciate it, man. We will talk soon. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. This has been Post Loons, and we'll catch you next week after the Loons and Chicago next Saturday. Until then,